Now, Eyewitness Sports.
We heard the cry of our loyal viewers, and we are back for another WPRI Double OT. It's been a minute, guys. Yanni Karakis, Maury Hirschgordon, I'm Ruthie Polinsky. We have a lot to talk about, but we've been so busy with covering all the things that are happening in our market, so now we're back, and we're going to talk about them all.
And we don't want to do this yesterday because then you predict what happens and then the game's 5 minutes later.
Right, no, this is a good time to do it. We are taping it.
We'll say Wednesday, 4 o'clock.
Wednesday, 4 o'clock, May 1st, following a Celtics and Bruins loss.
Yep.
2 Red Sox wins, though.
Yep.
So that's
you see that stat where first time since 2010 the Bruins and Celtics lost playoff games on the same day.
Wow.
Ooh, you guys
this
have
is
it rough.
agony that's really, it's been a while.
Yeah, real rough. All right, we're going to start with the Celtics and the Bucks. Just kind of your thoughts, predictions for the rest of this series as we sit now tied 1 game apiece heading back to Boston.
Well, it's interesting, right, that they exchanged 20-plus point blowouts. Because after Game 1, I think everyone got super excited and was like, all right, NBA Finals, here we come. We're going to roll over the Bucks. They stink. And then I think, predictably, Milwaukee played better. Giannis played better. Their shots were hitting. So it's 1-1, but I think you feel good being the Celtics. That's sort of what you want to do, go on the road, split. And they play so well in the playoffs at the TD Garden, you think they can get back into this. But you expect Kyrie Irving to be better than 9 points come Friday. You expect Jason Tatum to sort of wake up. He hasn't had a great playoffs. Al Horford's been great. So I like the matchup. I think at the end of the day, the Celtics have they have more players that are good. They have more talent than Milwaukee. So if Giannis isn't going off, and you can't expect them to hit threes like they did last night, I think the Celtics are the better team, and I'm still picking them to win, but I think it's going to be a long series, 6 or 7.
Yeah, I think the supporting cast of Nikola Mirotic and Chris Middleton, I think those guys will falter more often than a Jaylen Brown, Al Horford, Jason Tatum combo. I think we expected Milwaukee to come out and give the Celtics a punch. I think they knew their season was over if they had lost that game. Right. You lose twice at home as the #1 seed. You're going then on the road to a more talented group, a team that was picked to win the Eastern Conference at the beginning of the season. So I think Boston's exactly where they want to be. I thought for the majority of Game 2, I thought they were fine. Even down 4 at half, I thought they were right within striking distance. But the Bucks made a run, and they were the better team that night. They made more shots. But I think the Celtics overall, I think they're in a better position. I think they take both games at home, and I think they wrap it up in 6.
I think it's definitely going to be a 7-game series. I think just the way the Celtics were able to steal one on the road, the Bucks are going to come here and do the exact same thing. Giannis Antetokounmpo is the real deal. I mean, he's one of the best players in the NBA, and you expect him to lead his team the way that I think Kyrie Irving has failed to do, especially in last night's game. And what I will say about this flipping the switch and what everyone was saying after the Pacers series is that the Celtics flipped the switch. Well, guess what? You didn't have that switch on last night. So what is, where do you gauge when you can turn a switch on in the playoffs? So I think that's going to be an interesting thing to see how that plays over into Boston. And, the attitude of a Celtics loss, I'm never a fan of the way that they handle it. That's how it's been all season long, and just the way that Kyrie Irving has chosen to lead this team and the language that he uses in his post-game press conferences. I don't love the way that he necessarily responds off the court, so I guess only time will tell to see how they respond on the court. But I definitely think it's a 7-game series, and I'm picking the Bucks.
A lot of picking the Bucks.
A lot of beat guys said the locker room last night on Tuesday night was pretty jovial after a loss. They just got smacked, they got run out of the building, yet they were still kind of happy.
It's sometimes easier to manage a loss when you lose by 20 instead of at the buzzer. In terms of what you were saying with the Kyrie thing, he is sort of like, I've been here, I've been in long series, I've been in short series, I've been down, I've been up, and that's what he was saying last night. He's like, I know what this is like. But Horford, after Game 1, these guys are saying that Kyrie sort of set the precedent a couple weeks out from the playoffs. Like, all right, let's get going. Time to do. So he's sort of been embracing this, and they are playing well. But I don't think you can discount the fact that they didn't even win 50 games this year.
Right.
So when they lose and they go 7 with Milwaukee, that shouldn't exactly be a surprise. But I right now feel better about them in the East than Milwaukee, Philly, and Toronto.
Yeah, all of them. And I think you got to feel better with Kyrie having an off night in Game 2 than Giannis. Giannis isn't going to shoot the ball well, so if he hasn't been connecting in a lot of points in the paint, can't really attack the rim, I think the shots will fall for Kyrie. For Giannis, if he's not scoring around the paint, well, then he's not really going to score that well around the perimeter, and I think it's going to be advantage.
And that's
Boston.
What's interesting about a big guy of Giannis's stature is it's not like a Harden or a Durant or a Curry who can sort of live by the jump shot. Like if he's not in the paint and he's getting pushed out of it like in game 1, then he can't control a game, really.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's harder for a big man to sort of control a game, especially in the waning seconds of a close game.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see because I think the Celtics game plan in game 1 was perfect.
Right.
I mean, they completely shut him down and then kind of let go of it a little bit. It'll be interesting to see how the Bucks continue to adjust and then to see how the Celtics adjust, especially on their home court.
And Budenholzer is a good coach.
Right.
The guy they had last year, most people think was a clown.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
Joe Prunty.
Is that his name?
Yeah.
I'm still saying Bucks in 7.
Look at you, contrarian, all of a sudden.
Yeah.
I know.
You haven't picked against a Boston team in 2 years.
Okay, that's actually incorrect. So I'm really. I'm just
What if you not picked one of the Boston teams to win it all? Did you pick the Red Sox to win the World Series this year? I actually did.
I think I
Which
did.
was probably a jinx.
I think
We'll
I
get
did.
to the Red
I don't
Sox in a
remember.
minute.
Yeah, we'll get to the Red Sox in a second. But first, we're going to talk about the Bruins. Are you worried?
I'm not
Like
worried.
that small question?
Yeah, I don't think
Okay.
I'm worried.
You're not
No,
worried?
I like the question. No, I'm not worried. I think they did it last series. Why can't they do it again? But it's just got to click. The top line. I mean, it's just getting extremely frustrating at this point. I mean, what is going on? I think that David Pastrnak is more of a sore thumb now to your lineup than a help.
What point do they just
At
stop
what point do they
taking-
bench him?
Yeah,
I
bench
mean,
him, take
even
away his
just
minutes.
one game. Yeah, just one game, throw him away. I mean, even for game 4, if he's on the road, his thumbs aren't feeling well, the crowd's playing a role. I mean, just sit him and have him come back and have him kind of just watch from the stands and take something in. I mean, I'm sure you could ask a Nazem Kadri who got suspended. He took in a lot of different things, having more observations from not being out there on the ice and playing. So I think. At what point do you just bench him and give somebody else an opportunity?
It seems like Cassidy is going to live or die with Pastrnak right now.
Yeah.
I mean, he was with the first teamers last night, didn't do much. He was first and second line, then he was at the third line, and it's like he's either hurt, he's like falling a lot on the ice, he's taking bad shots. He clearly isn't the same. But the issue is like all these hockey players are hurt. I love the day after regular the pro season when their injuries come out and it's like lower.
Torn ACL.
Broken shoulder. You're like, how are these guys playing?
Yeah.
But the top line, I heard the stat today, when Pastrnak, Bergeron, and Marchand are on the ice together, 5-on-5, they haven't scored a goal since Game 4 of the Toronto series, which is absurd. And almost a credit to the other guys that they've done this well without those guys scoring. So we keep saying they're going to click, it's going to come, but it hasn't. To answer the direct question, yes, I'm worried. I think if they don't win Game 4 and they're down 3-1, I'm picking Columbus easily, up 3-1. And we forget last year when they were playing Tampa, they won Game 1, and all of a sudden they lost in 5. So this can sort of snowball. I also think we're probably underrating Columbus a little bit. They swept Tampa, but they're one of those teams that isn't on TV a lot. The Bruins have no history with them, so we don't know a ton about them. We're like, oh, there's this franchise. They have the white towels. They're new to the party, but they're a good team, and Bobrovsky's been insane.
I love the shirt that they're giving out. It's just they so clearly have never been here before. The shirt says, a first round victory is not the goal. No slogan, no see us rise or do
all
damage
in.
or all in. It's
Too many
a
words.
first round playoff or first round victory is
Their
not the goal.
marketing person should be fired.
Yeah, that's so brutal. It's you guys, it's bless your heart. I'm worried. I think it's not only just Pastrnak, who is obviously getting a lot of attention, that he's not producing offensively, but it's all 3 of your first top liners. I mean, it's Marchand, it's Bergeron, and those are the guys that you need to rely on now. You don't have a choice, when it comes to playoffs. So if those guys don't get going, and it's not just one of your best players, it's your 3 best players are not going to be, as good as you need them to be. You can't win this way. And I think especially with how good Tuukka is right now and how phenomenal.
He's not getting any of the blame.
I think he's been absolutely phenomenal. You need scoring from your best players, and they just don't have that since Game 4.
And it's
if you're going to poison the top line with Pastrnak and with Pastrnak going up with Marchand and Bergeron, you're going to you poison them when you bring Pastrnak to the third line.
Right.
I mean, Johansson and Coyle had all this chemistry.
Right.
They were scoring goals left and right, creating all this offense and generating all this traffic and forechecking, and then you just put Pastrnak down there, and then they just go cold.
Right.
So.
I do think this team has a good demeanor and a good outlook. So I think they're pretty tough.
Yeah.
And it seems like they like each other. So they've been pretty resilient this year. I mean, they were down 3-2 to Toronto. That's really your back against the wall. So I don't think they're necessarily going to lose the series, but yeah, I'm officially worried.
David Backes was back in the skating lines today when they were practicing, and I think that's a really good sign of just to incorporate him, give like a little spark of veteran, tough leadership, maybe put him back in for a game and just see if that can get anything going. But you have to figure out what's wrong, and they just haven't been able to really figure it out. So I think that's what's the most concerning. But it'll be interesting to see with that.
Cassidy's been great at switching up the lines in-game. Don Sweeney, really lauded him for his in-game coaching abilities, but I mean, you need a different spark. You got to throw something. You got to throw a curveball in there.
And the Marchand thing is interesting. He's not going to be suspended, but he's obviously been a cheap shot artist his whole career. But like, is this something that gets him going or makes him more frustrated because he's not scoring? So Marchand, it could go either way in Game 4. I think he either goes off or maybe starts doling out more cheap shots.
Yeah, I just saw that.
I'm just going to punch this dude in the head right now.
Right, and I don't even
I thought it was pretty hard. Everybody said it was kind of like a playful, something you do to your kid if they made a mistake. Like, no, that was a pretty hard shot. The guy's head, the guy fell over.
We underestimate how strong these people are too. Like what looks like that to us is like probably
Although
getting run into by
Marchand's the
bus.
size of you.
It's true.
Not
Smaller. Let's be real. Okay. Are the Red Sox finally turning it around?
They win. Is this official? They won today?
They won today, 7-3.
Yeah. Sweet.
First sweep of the year?
Are they turning it around? I will say yes. They're starting to. It's a cruise ship. It's a slow turn. It's not immediate. But I saw a statistic that if they play 605 ball, if they go 80 and 53 or whatever that is, they get to 93 wins, which historically at least gets you in the wild card. So I think they can do that the rest of the way. At no point do I think they're definitely going to win the AL East. New York's ahead of them, Tampa's ahead of them, but the offense is seemingly getting going. We saw Moreland, I think today was his 9th home run. Mookie hit one last night. And if Porcello somehow can do what he did last night, I mean, 8 scoreless innings for Rick Porcello. God bless him. It was the night that no one was watching the Red Sox. But if they can just have 2 or 3 starters going, I think Sale eventually will get out of this rut. Right? This 0-5 is unbelievable, but. Yeah, I think they have too much talent to continue at this pace.
Right.
The Red Sox won't be able to turn it around until Chris Sale wins. I don't think he's got to get on a 4 or 5 or 6 game winning streak of starts. Even if he doesn't pick up the W itself, if the Red Sox just win the games that he starts, then I can think I can determine the Red Sox are turning it around. Your horse, obviously David Price has been great and Porcello has shown flashes, especially a couple nights ago. But they're not going to be able to turn it around unless Chris Sale consistently wins them games and has an ERA of under 3.5, because this 5 and 6 ERA just won't cut it for the Red Sox when every 4 or 5 days they're going to lose.
What I will say is that I think they're figuring things out, and yes, like you said, you're slowly turning, slowly, very slowly. But again, you have to look at the division. You have the Yankees, you have Tampa Bay. You have to finish second for the most part to make the playoffs, So, I mean, it's just when you look at who's there, you have to be able to compete with those big dogs. And for this team to make the playoffs and you have 2 teams in your division playing really well, that's tough.
Yeah, I mean, it is going to be tough. And the wild card's a bad proposition. You have 1 game for your whole season. But the good thing is there's a lot of bad teams in the American League in general. Yep. So you get Baltimore and you get, who else is bad? There's some bad teams.
Royals
are bad. Did you see the picture at the Royals game today?
I saw you retweeted that. Oh my God.
There was 18 people there. And usually for day games, they have all the schools come and daycares.
Right.
Brutal.
That was bad.
Especially in Kansas City, that's.
They're a couple years removed from a World Series.
For that Chiefs AFC Championship game, and Kauffman Stadium's right next to the Chiefs. It's not necessarily downtown, but
But it's cool. You see it on the highway. I like it.
I forgot
the
you got
World
some
Series
KC.
I'm from Missouri.
I did see Sanser, Missouri, and felt like I was close to
the Lou, the Polinsky fam. So that's kind of my take. I think the Red Sox are figuring some things out, but can they turn it around and make the playoffs?
Well, here's another interesting thing. If they win slowly but surely 2 of 3, do they get back that way, or do you think they need a 10-game winning streak or a 12 of 14 or something like that? You know what I mean?
Well, all of that depends on what other teams do too. So it's hard to say, right? Because
I don't even think about forget about the standings, just in terms of them playing better.
They have to rip off an 8 to 10, and then win 3 of 5 or 5 of 8.
Yeah, 3 of 5 is 600 ball.
Yeah.
All right, what do we got next? Pats.
Are we happy with the Patriots draft?
All right, this is old news at this point, but we haven't talked about it.
Hey, Winovich, I'm Rufy. Did you know I went to Michigan too? Me, you, and Tom should have lunch.
Is that day 1 or day 2?
Day 1 of training camp. Not gonna ask for lunch with
You know,
Tom.
like the best bar in Ann Arbor is. What are you guys gonna talk about?
Skeeps, baby.
Skeeps.
No.
Who's that bar that retweeted
Let me just defend myself so I don't come off as a little school fanny girl.
Okay.
I will say that first of all, Chase Winovich and I think we overlapped a year at Michigan, but he didn't play. He was like, young and hurt or something. But I will say this. If there was one guy on the team from last year, Michigan, that I would want to be on the Patriots, or that I thought maybe would just catch Bill Belichick's eye, it was Chase Winovich. And when we came into the draft and I said, I want Chase on the Patriots.
Did you?
I
Really?
did.
You said that?
I said it to, who was it? Like the camera guys. I think I said it to Moose. And I was like, if I get my pick, obviously I would love Rashawn Gary, Devin Bush. But Chase Winovich is maybe in their ballpark. And I was like, I want Chase. He is the mascot. He was the mascot of Michigan football last year. And just their kind of like the revenge tour that they went on last year and their ability to kind of have this miraculous season, discounting, of course, the Ohio State game. But they beat Michigan State, they beat Wisconsin, and he was just part of that force.
Did they beat Ohio State? I forgot, Maury.
They beat Penn State.
They beat Penn State.
Hold on, this quote of if you break your arm, you rip it off and hit the guy with it, is that real life?
I think, yeah. But
Like
he was
sacrifice an arm?
Did you ever see the interview that he did after the Michigan State game when he was like interviewed, I think, by Big Ten Network, and it was like, this is part of the revenge tour. He's like, sometimes your little brother starts acting up and you just got to put him in his place, like calling Michigan State like your little brother. Like he is a savage.
I like his personality. I think he loves football.
And
he's going to be a grinder. I think he'll fit in.
And he's really smart, has a great football mind, and this is what coaches and his teammates say about him, and he's able to reel in that personality enough to kind of fit the mold and work hard and put your head down, and a little bit more like
put together,
charismatic, I would say, like a little bit. I don't know.
Charming?
I hope they don't make him cut his hair. A little bit. I would just say he's just. When in his opening press conference phone call, the conference call with the media, they were asking him about his meetings with the Patriots, and he was like, I just kind of want to wait until I get further instruction from the team about what I'm able to share. Like, he's smart enough and like not as goofy to be able to like put on the show.
I think one big theme of all the draftees was that they all kind of have this Patriot Way mantra about them already in some form or another. They're all tight-lipped. They all kind of, just stick to themselves, and they weren't kind of revealing too much. Exactly. Very team-oriented.
Well, the Patriots allegedly have the smallest draft board in the league because they only identify 100 guys that they think would be good fits here because they're good above the shoulders. They can do a diverse amount of skill sets, and obviously you have to be good players. But I love the N'Keal Harry pick only because Bill Belichick has never drafted a first-round wideout, and it's like a fun sports car that we never get because he's always drafting interior linemen in the first round. And by all accounts, he's a big, good run after the catch, big catch radius possession receiver. So that'll be exciting.
His highlights are insane.
I like Winovich. I like Jawan. What's his name?
Jawan Williams.
Jawan Williams.
It's Jawan.
It's Jawan.
But everyone keeps calling him Joe Jawan. Listen, the punter, really, give me a break in the fifth round. I know fifth rounders are like maybe a 1 in 10 proposition, but you have a punter under contract. Is this guy so good that you like?
Bill doesn't know I love Ryan Allen. Come on,
Ryan Allen.
I love.
Well,
Ryan
it's like
Allen.
when he drafts the long snapper like a couple years ago, like the college wrestler. He sometimes does things that are a little too cute. The running back. Seems like they have a lot of depth at position, but if he's a good athlete and can squeeze onto the roster, I guess it's not bad. I thought it was a good draft.
I thought it was
It's as satisfied as I've been in a while, because usually the Pats don't draft for need, and I thought other than tight end, they really address some needs, especially at receiver.
Yeah, I thought the N'Keal Harry first round pick was exciting. Like sexy, like it was a name grabber. It was
it capped off a long, boring night.
Yeah,
we waited until almost midnight. We almost waited almost 4 hours, and you were there. I mean, it was pretty slow.
Very
they were
slow.
Never going to trade.
Kind of waiting to see if there were, and then there were those 2 trades ahead of them, so we were kind of confused about what was happening.
And the funny thing is, like, we don't realize how fluid the situation is. There's a good chance they could have traded at the last second. They were like, all right, pick Harry. You know what I mean? We never know. Or they could have pulled off a Josh Rosen trade. There's so much behind the scenes. It's so fascinating what could have happened.
No, but I think it's interesting. And the Jarrett Stidham, I think that's interesting. I think that
that's what I was about to get to.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Fan or
I
no
hate
fan?
it.
You hate it.
I like Auburn football, and I like Jared Stidham. For some reason, I've had this fascination with Auburn football. These teams that
Since
I've never
Cam?
really come. No, not Cam. Just I don't know.
Okay.
Just the
That's
team.
your SEC team.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I cannot stand Alabama. Anyway. You have to help Tom Brady out right now. There is no point in drafting this guy unless you think he is a diamond in the rough. And everybody's saying they're going to carry 3 quarterbacks. And this kid could be he's older. He's going to turn 23. He's not a 21 or 20-year-old junior that came out of college. I mean, this kid better be the real deal, or else you wasted a 4th-round pick, or you could have traded a 4th-round pick up for something in the future, or back to get more picks to acquire more talent. Maybe hit on some guy late in the rounds, but. I mean, boy, oh boy, he better be right. And
I actually don't hate it. I would have been mad if they used their 1st-round pick or a 7th rounder. I think 4th round is the sweet spot because when they picked Jacoby Brissett a couple years back, he was the 3rd rounder. They already had Garoppolo, so everyone's like, what are they doing? I think when it comes to after the 3rd round, like 4 or 5, mostly the 4th and the 5th round, Belichick just throws stuff at the wall. And if he realizes it's a 50-50 proposition, if it hits, great. If it doesn't, it doesn't. So 4th round, they see this guy that they like. Is he the successor to Brady? Maybe, maybe not. But they're going to there's enough things they like about him that they're going to give him a shot in their system and see how he improves. Sort of like Jacoby Brissett, who's probably a career backup, but got enough interest from the Colts that they got a good trade out of him. So I don't love the idea of keeping 3 quarterbacks. Maybe Hoyer leaves. I think they're at the point if Brady's gets hurt, they're done anyway. This isn't a Matt Castle situation where Hoyer or this kid could lead them to the playoffs. So
that's why I think you got to go all in. I mean, if you take a quarterback in the 1st or 2nd round, then maybe you have a chance to win a couple games, stumble to the playoffs.
See,
I think with the tight end situation, there were just a couple other needs you could have filled instead.
I don't know. The days of Aaron Rodgers waiting for Brett Favre and Jimmy G waiting, I think those are sort of, you can't do that with a 1st rounder. In today's NFL, you can't pick a guy in the 1st round and be like, sit for 3 years for Tom Brady. It just doesn't, that's just not how the world works anymore. So you either need a 2nd, 3rd, 4th rounder who's able or willing to be groomed, or you got to go in and get him in the 1st. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I agree with you. And I think they wouldn't have taken him in the 4th round if they didn't see a need for him. And I think that if, maybe they think that if, God forbid, Tom Brady gets hurt this year, Brian Hoyer is not our answer. And not only is Tom Brady a year older, but he's 42. I'd rather. So maybe they could try and throw this kid in there, or throw him into some preseason games and just get him some experience. Tom could be out, 2-3 years down the road, but I think they like him, and I think they wanted him. It's a project.
Yeah, there's no doubt they like him, or else they wouldn't have taken him.
Right, but you know what I'm saying? I don't think that they just grabbed him.
But more so than what's the LSU's kid's name from last year?
Danny Etling.
I don't think there was ever a legitimate.
What was he, 7th round?
7th round.
Yeah. I think that was just for a roster spot.
But the Patriots probably last year, without looking at all the backup QBs, had one of the worst backup QB situations. I mean, Hoyer knows the system, but
they love Hoyer playing.
A lot of teams are investing more money in the backup QB position because you see a team like the Eagles. That's sort of an aberration, but that can sort of keep things afloat or win a Super Bowl in their case with their backup.
Yeah, I think you had to put a little bit more money or a little bit of something into a backup quarterback. That's why it just doesn't make sense. If it gets to Brian Hoyer, it gets to Jarrett Stidham, your season's over.
Right.
So draft more around Brady, and then if you're going all in on Brady, then you spend a little bit of money on a quarterback. I mean, Josh Rosen wouldn't be bad. Josh Rosen is clearly an interesting talent.
Interesting idea is ultimately Brady's successor could come from outside the organization.
Right.
Maybe they trade for someone, or they get someone they like that's like a backup somewhere else. I don't, maybe it's not someone they draft.
Like a Teddy Bridgewater, like I thought a year or two ago, the Patriots could have gotten on him. Like NFL experience, has won some games, has taken a team. If Belichick is so defensive oriented,
you get that guy for a year and then you draft the guy.
Sure.
Someone made a point of how great would it be if after Jimmy's first contract with the Giants, they brought him back. It's weird that we're going to redo the whole Garoppolo experience this year because he played, 3 games last year?
Right.
This is he must be chomping at the bit. He has yet to prove himself as a starting NFL quarterback, and this is his 5th or 6th year now?
And is he even ready to go at the beginning of the year? I don't think he is.
So he was a 14 draftee, so 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. This is his 6th year in the league. Wow. He's never played more than, 5 games?
That's wild. But when you think I don't even think Garoppolo is going to be ready to go week 1.
Really?
I think because he tore his ACL so late in the season, and it was such a bad tear. Wow. But it is going to be interesting, or if they were to I thought you were gonna say this, but like if down the road they like trade to get Jimmy back when Tom's done, because Bill just like loves him so much and like sends him congratulatory texts after every game, or like when he gets hurt. Didn't we find out that he does that? Bill texted him after every game.
I don't know if it was every, but Jimmy said that Bill texted him, and then Bill was pissed when that got out.
Yeah.
Bill doesn't like when you disclose
Personal
like, side
info.
text. Like when Trump was like, he wrote me a letter, and then Bill had to do a whole press conference about it.
Yeah.
And then he declared that he writes hundreds of letters a week. Remember that? I write hundreds of letters a week. What? Seems like a lot.
That's like a coach thing though, to write handwritten letters.
I like handwriting. I occasionally
Coaches
write a
love it.
handwritten
It's a
thing.
great networking thing. People love it. People love handwritten letters in coaching.
Is that
lost
what,
art.
is that what Trip Doherty
Per
does?
sources.
Is that what Trip Doherty does?
Per sources. Yeah. Former Pat Connaughton teammate.
All right.
Is that it?
That's it.
Anything else about the draft? No.
Big four.
That was it. That's gonna do it for our Big Four double OT. We're back in action. Squad up. We'll see you next time.